The great chamber of the Galactic Council was silent. Thousands of alien species sat in their seats, watching the scene below. The chamber was enormous. It's built inside a space station called Accord Prime. It floated in neutral space, far from any empire's territory. Here the great powers of the galaxy came to talk instead of fight. Park Yuna stood alone at the human delegation's platform. She was a small woman with gray hair and calm eyes. She wore a simple dark suit, nothing fancy. Behind her, two junior diplomats sat quietly, their faces pale with worry. They knew what was coming. On the opposite platform stood Grand Overseer Threll of the Velkorian Empire. He was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, with thick blue skin and 4 muscular arms. His golden armor gleamed under the chamber lights. Behind him stood 100 Velkorian warriors, all armed, all proud. The Velkorians had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Their empire covered over 800 star systems. Their fleet numbered in the hundreds of thousands of warships. They had never lost a war, not once. Every species in the chamber knew this. Every species feared them. High Arbiter Nas, the ancient creature who led the council, raised one of his many tentacles for silence. Not that anyone was making noise. The tension was too thick for whispers. Grand Overseer Threll, Nas said in his deep rumbling voice, "You have requested formal time before this council. Speak your purpose." Threll stepped forward. His heavy boots made the platform shake. He looked down at the human woman across from him with obvious contempt. To him, she was an insect. Her entire species was barely worth noticing. "I speak today to announce a formal declaration of war," Threll said. His voice echoed through the chamber. "The Velkorian Empire hereby declares total war against the species known as humans, and their governing body, the United Earth Coalition." A wave of murmurs passed through the chamber. Many species had expected this, but hearing it spoken aloud was still shocking. War was rare in the modern galaxy. Most species surrendered before it came to actual fighting. Fighting the Velkorians was suicide, Threll continued, enjoying the attention. The humans have illegally occupied 3 colony worlds in the Outer Reach. These worlds contain minerals that belong to the Velkorian. We claimed this territory before their ancestors crawled from their oceans. We have demanded they leave. They have refused. He turned to look directly at Park Yuna. This is their final chance. Surrender the colonies now, and we will be merciful. Refuse, and we will destroy every human ship, every human station, every human world. Your species will become a memory. A footnote in galactic history. The chamber fell completely silent. Every eye, every sensor, every appendage turned toward the human delegation. Many species were already composing messages of condolence. The humans had been members of the galactic community for only 50 years. They seemed nice enough, if a bit odd. It was sad that they would be wiped out, but that was the way of things. The strong survived. The weak did not. Park Yuna stood motionless throughout Threll's speech. She did not flinch. She did not look afraid. She simply listened, her hands folded in front of her, her expression calm. When Threll finished, she waited a moment longer. Then she smiled. It was not a nervous smile. It was not a fake diplomatic smile. It was a genuine smile, warm and almost amused, as if she had just heard a mildly funny joke. The chamber did not know how to react. This was not the response anyone expected. Tears, perhaps. Begging, certainly. Angry defiance, possibly. But a smile? That made no sense. Threll's eyes narrowed. "You find this amusing, human?" "No, Grand Overseer," Yuna said. Her voice was soft, but clear, carrying easily through the chamber's perfect acoustics. "I find this sad. But not for the reasons you think." She stepped forward to the edge of her platform. Despite being so much smaller than Threll, she did not seem diminished. There was something in her posture, something in her eyes, that made several species in the audience shift uncomfortably in their seats. "The United Earth Coalition formally accepts your declaration of war," she said. "However, as is our right under Council protocols, We invoke the 60-day consideration period. You have 60 standard days to withdraw your declaration. After that time, if you still wish to proceed, we will respond. Thrall laughed. It was a harsh, barking sound. 60 days? You want 60 days to prepare your surrender? Fine, take your 60 days. It will not matter. My fleet will crush your pitiful defenses in a week. Perhaps, Una said, still smiling. Or perhaps not. My species has a saying, Grand Overseer. Never interrupt your enemy when they are making a mistake. Thrall's laughter stopped. What mistake? Declaring war on humans. The Grand Overseer stared at her for a long moment. Then he snorted with contempt. You are either brave or foolish, little human. I suspect foolish. In 60 days, your worlds will burn. Your species will learn what happens to those who defy the Velkorian Empire. He turned and marched out of the chamber, his warriors following in perfect formation. The doors slammed shut behind them with a boom that echoed through the silent hall. Hi, Arbiter. Nos looked at Park Una with something like pity in his ancient eyes. Envoy Park, he said gently. The Council offers its sympathies. If there is anything we can do to help negotiate a peaceful resolution, we stand ready to assist. Thank you, High Arbiter, Una said, but that will not be necessary. Envoy, please understand your situation. The Velkorian fleet has over 400,000 warships. According to our records, your species has approximately 500. The mathematics are unfortunate. Mathematics can be deceiving, Una said. Numbers are not everything, No sighed. He had seen many young species destroyed by their own pride. It seemed the humans would be another sad example. Very well. The Council will observe the 60-day period. We hope, for your sake, that you use this time wisely. As the chamber began to empty, many delegations approached the human platform. Some offered genuine sympathy. Some offered empty words, already distancing themselves politically. A few offered to buy human art and cultural artifacts before they were all destroyed. Better to preserve something of the doomed species, they said. Through it all, Park Una remained calm and polite. She thanked everyone for their concern. She assured them that Earth was preparing for all possibilities. She never stopped smiling. Her junior diplomats were less composed. As soon as they were alone, one of them grabbed her arm. Envoy Park, what are we going to do? We cannot fight the Velkorians. It is impossible. Una patted his hand gently. Young man, do you know why I smiled? No, ma'am. I thought perhaps you had gone mad from stress.
Ice.
She laughed softly. No, I smiled, because for 50 years we have been waiting, preparing, hoping we would never need to use what we built, but also knowing deep down that someday we would. She looked out at the now empty chamber. The Velkorians think they know us. They have read our public records. They have seen our small fleet. They think we are weak because we are young, because we are peaceful, because we smile and bow and say polite words. Her smile faded, replaced by something harder. Something older. Something that had seen too much history. They're about to learn that humans are very, very good at one thing above all others. War. We have been practicing it against each other for 100,000 years. The Velkorians have never lost a war because they have never fought anyone like us. She turned and walked toward the exit. Come. We have 60 days of work ahead of us. Let us make sure our friends from Velkoria get the welcome they deserve. Deep beneath the mountains of Korea, in a bunker that did not officially exist, the true leaders of humanity gathered around a table. The room was cold and gray, lit by harsh white lights. Maps covered the walls, showing star systems and fleet positions. Admiral Kim Do-yeon stood at the head of the table. He was a tall man in his 60s, with short gray hair and a face that looked like it had been carved from stone. He had spent his entire life preparing for this moment. Part of him had hoped it would never come. Another part had always known it would. "A port?" he said simply. Director Baek Soo-jin activated the holographic display in the center of the table. She was younger than the Admiral, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She led Earth's intelligence services the eyes and ears of humanity among the stars. For 50 years, we have played a role, she began. The galaxy sees us as newcomers, peaceful, weak, a bit naive. We smile at their jokes. We bow to their customs. We keep our heads down and our mouths shut. She tapped the display, and it filled with data streams. But while we smiled, we watched. We studied every major power in the galaxy. Their ships, their weapons, their tactics, their weaknesses. We know more about the Valkorian military than most Valkorians do. Admiral Kim nodded. And they know nothing about us. Nothing real. Correct? They think we have 500 warships. They think our technology is 30 years behind theirs. They think our soldiers are soft because we have not fought a major war in centuries. Sujin smiled coldly. They are wrong about everything. Dr. Lee Hanna stepped forward. She was small and quiet, the kind of person who disappeared in crowds. She was also the most brilliant weapons scientist humanity had ever produced. May I, Admiral? Kim gestured for her to continue. Hanna changed the display, showing ship designs the galaxy had never seen. The Valkyrians, like most Galactic TIC species, stopped innovating centuries ago. They found technology that worked, and they kept using it. Why change something that wins wars? She zoomed in on the engine section of a human warship. Humans are different. We never stop tinkering. We never stop asking what if. While the galaxy was stable and comfortable, our scientists were working in secret facilities throughout the solar system. We have developed weapons and systems that the galaxy considers theoretically impossible. The display showed a ship disappearing from one location and appearing instantly in another. We call this the skip drive. It is not faster than light travel. It is something else entirely. It folds space. Our ships can appear anywhere within a star system without warning. No approach. No detection. Just sudden arrival. Admiral Kim watched the display with grim satisfaction. Show them the fleet. Hannah changed the image again. The hologram filled with ships. Thousands of them. They floated in hidden shipyards carved into asteroids, orbiting distant moons, scattered across the outer reaches of human space. We do not have 500 warships, Hannah said. We have 5,000, all equipped with skip drives. All armed with weapons the Valkorians have never encountered. A young officer at the table gasped. How did we hide this? The construction alone must have been enormous. Director Beak answered. We hid it the same way we hid everything else. We let the galaxy see what it expected to see. A small, struggling colony species, a few outdated ships. No real threat to anyone. She shrugged. They never looked closer, because they never thought they needed to. Admiral Kim walked to the window, though there was no window, only a screen showing the surface far above. Snow was falling on the mountains. Somewhere up there, ordinary people were living ordinary lives, unaware of what was coming. I want to be clear about something, he said without turning around. We are not doing this because we enjoy war. We are not doing this because we want revenge or glory or conquest. We are doing this because 60 years ago, when we first discovered we were not alone in the universe, we also discovered something terrible. He turned to face the room. We discovered that the galaxy operates on one simple rule. The strong take from the weak. There is no justice. There is no fairness. There is only power. If you do not have power, someone will eventually come to take everything you have. He walked back to the table, his boots echoing on the stone floor. Our ancestors learned this lesson on Earth, again and again and again. Every time we forgot it, someone reminded us with fire and blood. We swore we would never forget again, so we prepared, Director Beak said. Every resource we could spare went into building this fleet. Every scientist who could help worked on these weapons. We hoped we would never need them, but we've built them anyway, because hope is not a strategy. Captain Choi Minho entered the room. He was younger than the others, with an easy smile that hid a sharp mind. He commanded the ESS Persistence, one of Earth's most advanced warships. He had been chosen to lead the first strike. Captain, Admiral Kim said. Your orders, Minho straightened. Sir, my task force will jump ahead of the Valkorian advance. We will not engage directly. We will strike and disappear. Strike and disappear. We will make them afraid of shadows. We will make them doubt every sensor reading. We will show them that this war will not be what they expected. Rules of engagement. No attacks on civilian targets. No unnecessary destruction. We hit military assets only. We want them scared, not genocidal. Admiral Kim nodded approvingly. The Valkorians have 40,000 ships in their invasion fleet. You have 30. Most commanders would call that suicide, Minho smiled. It was a confident smile, but not an arrogant one. Most commanders have never fought humans, sir. We invented the idea of the underdog winning. It is practically our national sport. The Admiral almost smiled. Almost. You launch in 6 hours. Make them remember the name, persistence. Yes, sir. As Minho left, Dr. Lee Hanna pulled up one final display. It showed the colony world of New Busan, the primary target of the Valkorian invasion. The beautiful blue and green world floated in space, peaceful and vulnerable. We have begun evacuating the civilian population, she said. But we are also preparing something else. If the Valkorians want New Busan so badly, we will give it to them, along with the biggest surprise of their lives. Admiral Kim stared at the world on the display. Millions of humans had built lives there. Farms and cities and schools and hospitals. All of it would become a battlefield now. War is coming, he said quietly. We did not want it. We did not start it. But we will finish it. And when it is over, the galaxy will never look at humanity the same way again. He turned to his officers. 50 years of pretending to be weak ends today. Today, we show them what we really are. Get to your posts. We have work to do. The room emptied quickly. In shipyards across human space, engines began to warm. Weapons were loaded. Crews said goodbye to families. The machine of war, hidden so carefully for so long, finally began to move. Above the bunker, snow continued to fall on the Korean mountains. The world looked peaceful. It would not stay that way for long. The Valkorian invasion fleet moved through space like a swarm of angry insects. 40,000 warships, each one bristling with weapons, each one crewed by warriors who had never known defeat. Commander Brex stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Fury of Worlds. Watching his fleet advance toward human space, he was pleased. This would be an easy victory. The humans had barely any ships. Their technology was primitive. They would fall like grain before the harvest. His only worry was that the war would end too quickly. His warriors needed battle experience, and crushing insects did not provide much practice. Commander, his sensor officer called out. The advanced scouts have reached the first waypoint. Good. Have them report. There was a pause. Then another pause. The sensor officer frowned at his display. Commander, the scouts are not responding. Brex turned. Equipment failure. Unknown, sir. I am not receiving any signal from them at all. It is as if they simply vanished. Brex felt the first tiny seed of concern plant itself in his stomach. He ignored it. The scouts had probably encountered some navigational hazard. These outer regions were poorly mapped. Send another group. Tell them to be careful. The second scout group launched. They traveled for an hour toward the last known position of the first group. Then they, too, went silent. Brex was no longer ignoring the seed of concern. It had begun to grow. What is happening out there? Before anyone could answer, alarms screamed across the bridge. Red lights flashed. Officers shouted in confusion. Contact! Multiple contacts? They are inside our formation. Brex spun toward the main display. 30 human ships had appeared in the middle of his fleet. Not approaching. Not detected on long-range sensors. They were simply there, as if they had always been there, as if space itself had delivered them. That is impossible, Brex whispered. No ship can jump inside another fleet's formation. The human ships did not wait for him to process his shock. They opened fire, but these were not the weapons Brex knew. These were not the standard plasma cannons and missile systems used across the galaxy. Beams of strange energy lanced out from the human ships. They passed through Velkorian shields as if the shields did not exist. They struck directly at reactor cores, engine systems, weapons arrays. Velkorian ships began to explode. 1, 5, 20. The human weapons were surgically precise, hitting critical systems with impossible accuracy. Each shot seemed to know exactly where to strike for maximum damage. Return fire. Breck screamed. All ships returned fire. His fleet tried. Thousands of weapons turned toward the human ships. But the humans were already gone. They had vanished as suddenly as they appeared, leaving behind only wreckage and confusion. Breck stared at the tactical display. In less than 2 minutes, he had lost 47 ships. The humans had lost none. Find them, he ordered, his voice tight with anger. Scan every centimeter of space. They cannot have gone far. His officers searched. They found nothing. The human ships had simply disappeared. Over the next 3 days, the nightmare continued. The human ships would appear without warning, strike hard and fast, then vanish before the Velkorians could respond. Sometimes they hit supply convoys. Sometimes they attacked isolated warships. Sometimes they simply observed, letting the Velkorians know they were being watched, before disappearing again. Brex tried everything. He spread his fleet out to prevent the humans from appearing inside his formation. They adapted, striking at the edges instead. He pulled his fleet together in a tight defensive ball. They struck at his supply lines from behind. He sent hunting parties to chase the humans down. The hunters became the hunted. By the end of the week, Brex had lost 3,000 ships. He had not destroyed a single human vessel. He had not even damaged one. His warriors, so confident at the start of the campaign, were becoming nervous. They jumped at shadows. They doubted their own sensors. Morale was collapsing. On the bridge of the Persistence, Captain Choi Minho studied the latest intelligence reports. His crew was tired, but satisfied. They had done exactly what they were ordered to do. They had made the Velkorians afraid, sir, his tactical officer reported. The enemy fleet has stopped advancing. They are holding position near the Reach Nebula. Minho nodded. Good. They are learning. Slowly, but they are learning. What do we do now, Captain? Minho considered the question. The Velkorians still outnumbered them by a massive margin. Even with their advantages, 30 ships could not defeat 40,000. But that was never the plan. The plan was to buy time, to soften the enemy, to prepare the real battlefield. To continue, he said. We do not let them rest. We do not let them sleep. Every time they think they are safe, we remind them that they are not. We make them hate this war before it truly begins. Back on the Fury of Worlds, Commander Brex received a communication from Grand Overseer Threll. The Grand Overseer's face filled the screen, and he did not look pleased. Commander, your reports are disturbing. You have lost 3,000 ships to a force of 30, explained Brex. Tried to keep his voice steady. Great Overseer, the humans are using technology we have never seen. Their ships can appear and disappear at will. Their weapons ignore our shields. We cannot predict where they will strike next. Then adapt. You have 40,000 ships. Use them. I am trying, Great Overseer. But the humans do not fight like any enemy we have faced before. They do not meet us in battle. They strike from nowhere, then vanish. They are like ghosts. Threll's eyes narrowed. Are you telling me that the mighty Velkorian fleet is afraid of 30 human ships? Brex wanted to say yes. He wanted to say that there was something deeply wrong about these humans, something that made his instincts scream danger. But he could not say such things to the Grand Overseer. We are not afraid, he said instead. We are adapting to unexpected tactics. Give me time, and I will crush them. You have run out of time, Commander. I am sending reinforcements, and I am coming personally to oversee this campaign. When I arrive, I expect results. The screen went dark. Brex stared at it for a long moment. The Grand Overseer was coming. That meant the war was about to escalate dramatically. The games were over. He turned to his officers. Prepare the fleet to advance. We make for New Busan. Whatever tricks the humans have, they cannot stop all of us. We will take that colony and burn it to ash." The fleet began to move again. 40,000 ships, plus the reinforcements that would soon arrive, all heading toward a single target. The humans could not possibly have enough ships to stop them. Could they? On the bridge of the Persistence, Minho received word of the Valkorian advance. He smiled grimly. The first phase was complete. The enemy was angry, scared, and rushing toward the trap. "Signal Admiral Kim," he ordered. "Tell him the guests are on their way. New Busan is ready for them." He looked out at the stars, thinking of all the people who had evacuated that colony. Thinking of the weapon systems now hidden throughout the system. Thinking of the 5,000 human warships waiting in the darkness. "I hope you are ready, Grand Overseer," he said quietly. "Because we certainly are." The Valkorian fleet arrived at New Busan expecting to find a frightened colony world waiting to be conquered. Instead, they found hell. Grand Overseer Threll stood on the bridge of his personal command ship, watching his forces advance into the system. He had brought everything. 60,000 warships now filled the space around New Busan, the largest invasion force in galactic history. After the embarrassments of the past weeks, he would accept nothing less than total victory. "Begin the assault," he commanded. "Crush any resistance. I want that planet under our control by sunset." First wave of Valkorian ships pushed forward. They did not get far, hidden among the asteroids and moons of the system. Thousands of automated weapon platforms activated. Missiles streamed out from every direction. Energy beams cut through the void. Mines detonated beneath Valkorian hulls. The first wave lost 500 ships in the first 5 minutes. Threll watched with growing fury. So they have prepared defenses. Impressive for insects. Push through. We have numbers on our side. The Valkorian fleet surged forward, sacrificing ships to clear a path through the defenses. They made progress, but at a terrible cost. For every platform they destroyed, they lost 3 ships. For every minefield they cleared, they lost a dozen more than Admiral Kim Do-yeon. Arrived, the human fleet emerged from behind the gas giant at the edge of the system. Not 500 ships. Not 1,000. 5,000 warships, all using the same impossible drive technology that had haunted the Valkorians for weeks. They appeared suddenly, silently, and began to move. Commander Brex, watching from his position in the Valkorian formation, felt his heart sink. "Great Overseer, the humans have far more ships than we believed. Our intelligence was completely wrong." Threll stared at the tactical display. 5,000 human ships against his 60,000. The numbers still favored him, but those numbers meant less when your enemy could appear anywhere at any moment. "It does not matter," he said, though his voice was less confident than before. "We still outnumber them. All ships engage the enemy fleet." What followed would later be called the Battle of New Busan. Military historians across the galaxy would study it for centuries. It would change everything everyone thought they knew about warfare. The Valkorians tried to use their numerical advantage. They formed into massive attack formations, hoping to overwhelm the humans with concentrated firepower. But the human ships refused to stay still. They jumped constantly, appearing in one location, firing, then vanishing before the Valkorians could target them. Admiral Kim commanded his fleet from the bridge of his flagship, the S-Spirit of Earth. He watched the battle unfold on the holographic display, issuing orders with calm precision. 40 years of planning came down to this moment. Task Force 7, strike their left flank. Task Force 12, target those ammunition ships in the rear. Captain Choi, take the Persistence and 3 support ships. There is a gap forming in their center. Exploit it. The human strategy was elegant in its simplicity. They did not try to fight the Valkorians ship to ship. Instead, they isolated small groups of enemy vessels, cut them off from support, destroyed them, and moved on before reinforcements could arrive. The Valkorians' numerical advantage became a disadvantage. Their massive fleet was too large to coordinate. Their communications were constantly jammed by human electronic warfare. Dr. Lee Hanna monitored the battle from a secure station on the edge of the system. Her teams were preparing something special, waiting for exactly the right moment. When that moment came, she gave the order. Activate the jump suppressors. Across the battlefield, a new kind of weapon activated. The jump suppressors targeted the unique energy signatures of Valkorion faster than light drives. They did not damage the ships directly. Instead, they created fields of disrupted space that made jumping impossible. Thousands of Valkorion ships suddenly found themselves trapped. They could not escape. They could not call for help. They could only watch as human warships closed in around them. Threll saw his fleet falling apart. Ships were being cut off and destroyed in groups of dozens, then hundreds. His commanders were screaming for orders, but he had no orders to give. Every tactic he tried failed. Every strategy was countered. How? He demanded, slamming his fist against his command chair. How are they doing this? They are primitives. They are nothing. But the evidence before his eyes told a different story. The primitives were winning. And they were not just winning through superior technology. They were winning through superior tactics, superior coordination, superior thinking. The battle raged for 18 hours. By the end, the Valkorion fleet had been reduced to less than 10,000 operational ships. Human losses were heavy too, nearly 800 destroyed. But they had inflicted a defeat unlike anything in galactic history. As the surviving Valkorions retreated in chaos, something else happened. Far across the galaxy, in the Valkorion home system, alarms began to sound. A small group of human ships had appeared near the Valkorion homeworld. Not warships. Intelligence vessels. They did not fire a single weapon. They did not threaten anyone. They simply broadcast a message to every screen, every display, every communication device in the system. The message was simple. A video showing their arrival. Showing that they could reach the heart of the Empire anytime they chose. Showing that if they wanted to, they could do to the Valkorion homeworld what the Valkorions had planned to do to human colonies. They did not attack. They did not need to. The message was clear. On his crippled flagship, Grand Overseer Threll received the broadcast. He watched human ships orbiting the world where he was born. The world where his family lived. The world that was completely defenseless because he had brought all his forces here. Surrender, a human voice said over the broadcast. This war is over. You have lost. Further resistance will only cause more death on both sides. We do not want to destroy you. We want peace. But we will do what we must to protect our people. Threll stared at the screen. His hands trembled. Not with fear, but with rage. And beneath the rage, something he had never felt before in battle. Doubt. Great Overseer, Commander Breck said quietly, our fleet is shattered. Our homeworld is exposed. If we continue fighting, they will destroy everything we have built. Everything. Threll wanted to refuse. He wanted to fight until the last ship, the last warrior, the last breath. But he was not a fool. He could see the tactical reality. The humans had one. Contact their flagship, he said, the words tasting like poison in his mouth. Tell them we are willing to discuss terms. On the Spirit of Earth, Admiral Kim received the message. He allowed himself one moment of relief, one moment of pride. Then he straightened his uniform and prepared to accept the surrender. Signal Park Una, he told his communications officer. Tell her the military phase is complete. Now, it is her turn. Far away on Accord Prime, Park Una received the news. She closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of what had just happened. Thousands of beings had died. Ships had burned. Worlds had been threatened, and now came the hardest part. Not winning the war, but winning the peace. She opened her eyes and began preparing for the final act. 1 year after the war began, Park Una returned to the Galactic Council chamber. The same chamber where Grand Overseer Threll had declared his intention to wipe humanity from existence. The same chamber where she had smiled in the face of certain death. Everything was different now. The chamber was full again. Thousands of species had come to witness this moment. But this time, they did not look at the human delegation with pity. They looked with something else entirely. Respect, fear, wonder, curiosity, Yuna walked to the same platform where she had stood a year ago. She moved slowly, feeling every step. The past year had aged her. Not physically, but somewhere deeper. She had spent months negotiating with the Valkorians, months visiting the sites of battles, months meeting the families of those who had died on both sides. Grand Overseer Threll was already present, standing on his platform. He looked diminished somehow. Not smaller physically, but less overwhelming. The golden armor was gone, replaced by simple diplomatic robes. The pride in his eyes had been replaced by something harder to read. High Arbiter Nos called the chamber to order. His ancient voice echoed through the space. We gather today to formally end the conflict between the Valkorian Empire and the United Earth Coalition. Both parties have agreed to terms. Envoy Park, please present the final agreement. Yuna activated the central display. Documents appeared, floating in the air for all to see. The terms are as follows. First, a permanent peace between our peoples. No further military action by either side. Second, the disputed colonies in the Outer Reach will remain under human control, but Valkorian citizens will have equal rights to settle and trade there. Third, no territory will change hands. No tribute will be paid. No demands for submission will be honored. Murmurs spread through the chamber. These terms were remarkably generous. The humans had won a decisive military victory. They could have demanded almost anything. Territories, resources, the dissolution of the Valkorian military. Instead, they asked for nothing except peace. A delegate from one of the smaller species raised a tentacle to speak. Envoy Park, we do not understand. Your species demonstrated military superiority. You had the Valkorians at your mercy. Their homeworld was exposed. You could have destroyed them. Why did you stop? Yuna looked at the delegate. She had expected this question. She had been preparing her answer for a long time. I would like to tell you a story, she said. A story about my species. The chamber fell silent. This was unusual. Diplomats did not tell stories. They made arguments and quoted treaties and cited precedents. But Yuna was not a typical diplomat. Long ago, before we traveled to the stars, humans lived only on one small world. And on that world, we fought. We fought constantly. We fought over land and resources and beliefs and pride. We created weapons that could destroy cities in an instant. We came close to ending ourselves not once, not twice, but 3 times. She paused, letting the words sink in. We have been exactly where the Valkorians are now. We have been the conquerors, the destroyers, the monsters. We have committed every crime, every atrocity, every horror that one species can inflict on another. We have done it all to ourselves. Threll was watching her intently. His expression was unreadable. And we learned something from all that suffering, Yuna continued. We learned that victory is not the same as peace. We learned that crushing your enemy today only creates a new enemy tomorrow. We learned that the cycle of violence never ends unless someone chooses to end it. She looked directly at Threll. We could have destroyed your empire. Our ships were orbiting your homeworld. Your fleet was broken. We could have taken everything. And then, in 100 years or 1,000 years, some surviving Valkorians would have risen up to take revenge, and the cycle would continue forever. She shook her head slowly. We did not want that. We do not want eternal war. We do not want to be monsters anymore. We fought to defend ourselves, yes. But we stopped because we know that true strength is not just the power to destroy. It is the power to stop yourself from destroying. It is the power to offer your hand to a fallen enemy and say, let us build something better together. High Arbiter Nos leaned forward. Envoy Park, this is a noble sentiment. But is it practical? The Valkorians declared war on you. They intended to wipe out your species. How can you trust them now? Yuna smiled. It was the same smile she had worn a year ago, but now the chamber understood it differently. It was not the smile of someone hiding a secret weapon. It was the smile of someone who had seen too much darkness and still chose to believe in light. We do not trust them yet, she admitted. Trust takes time, but we believe in second chances. We believe that enemies can become allies. Some of humanity's greatest friendships began as wars. It happened on our world many times. Nations that once tried to destroy each other became the closest of partners. She turned to face the full chamber. We know the galaxy sees us differently now. Before you thought we were weak. Now, perhaps you think we are terrifying. A young species that appeared from nowhere and defeated an empire that ruled for 10,000 years. Perhaps you are afraid of what we might do next. The silence in the chamber was absolute. Let me tell you what we want to do next, Una said. We want to trade with you. We want to learn from you. We want to share what we know. We want to explore the universe together and discover things none of us have ever seen before. We want to build, not destroy. She smiled again. But we also want you to know that if anyone threatens us, if anyone tries to harm our people or our friends, we will defend ourselves. We have proven that we can fight. Now we hope to prove that we would rather not. Grand Overseer Threll finally spoke. His voice was quieter than before, less aggressive. I have a question for the human envoy. Una nodded. Please ask. I declared war on your people, you smiled. At the time, I thought it was foolishness or madness. Now I think it was something else. Tell me, what were you truly thinking in that moment? Una was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. I was thinking of my grandfather. He was a soldier in one of the last great wars on Earth. He saw terrible things. He did terrible things. And he spent the rest of his life working for peace because he knew what war really meant. She looked at Threll with something like compassion. I smiled because I was sad. Sad that we would have to show you what we were capable of. Sad that people would die to teach a lesson that should never need teaching. Sad that the galaxy still believes strength means conquest and weakness means mercy. She straightened her shoulders. I smiled because I knew we would win. But I also smiled because I knew winning would cost us something precious. Every war does. Even the ones you win. The chamber was still silent. Many species were reconsidering everything they thought they knew about the strange. Young, contradictory creatures called humans. High Arbiter Nos finally spoke. The peace agreement is hereby ratified by the Galactic Council. The war between humanity and the Velkorian Empire is officially ended. May this peace last forever. The session ended. Delegates began to leave. Many stopped to speak with the human delegation, offering congratulations, asking questions, proposing partnerships. Threll approached Una directly. They stood facing each other, the conqueror and the diplomat, the defeated and the victorious. Your people confuse me, Threll admitted. You fight like demons, and then offer peace like saints. I do not understand you. Una looked up at the towering alien. Perhaps that is a good thing, Grand Overseer. Perhaps if you spend time trying to understand us, you will find that we are not so different. Both of our peoples have made mistakes. Both of us have the chance to do better. She held out her hand, a human gesture of friendship. What do you say? Shall we try? Threll looked at the small hand extended toward him. A year ago, he would have crushed it without thought. Now slowly, he reached out with one of his massive hands and took hers gently. We shall try, he said. Una smiled one more time, but this time there was no sadness in it. Only hope. Behind them, the stars continued to shine. The galaxy continued to spin, and humanity continued to do what it had always done. Surviving, adapting, finding reasons to hope, even in the darkest times. They had proven they could fight. Now they would prove they could build. That, Una thought, was the truly human thing to do.